Hey guys, I'm back. It's me, and this is a Monday edition of Nik Nite. It's a weekend recap, but it's going to be a very personal weekend recap for me. I haven't been on in almost a week and a half. I think the last episode I filmed was on a Wednesday, not last Wednesday, but the Wednesday before last, and that is for many reasons. So first of all, I just wasn't feeling it that Friday after the Wednesday that I filmed. I just wasn't really feeling it. I did want to come on and talk about that versus battle because that's what I was looking forward to when I got on that Wednesday. The versus battle, Snoop Dogg versus DMX, was epic. It was everything that I had hoped and wished it would be. It was just phenomenal, and if you haven't checked it out, you should. But I didn't post Friday after watching that, and I don't know why. I just wasn't feeling it. So then that was Friday, and then Saturday night I got some news that you can never prepare yourself for, but I knew it was coming. And so Saturday night I got a call from my cousin, and she told me that the paramedics were on their way to my grandfather's house. My grandfather is 88, was 88. He's been battling dementia for the last 2 years, roughly 2 years, may have been longer. And so we got that phone, well, I got that phone call on Saturday night. He passed Saturday night at 11:03. And so, like I said, he's been battling with this illness for a while. He also had some other ailments. So you kind of, you know, he's 88. So he's lived a great, wonderful, full life. And so you kind of try to mentally prepare for the day that you get that phone call. And I did as much as possible. But it was still a really big blow to the gut. And it just took the wind and the sails out of me for a while, all last week. I knew I wasn't filming anything because it was not going to be feasible for me to do so. I just wasn't in the headspace to do so. So another thing about this whole process is COVID puts a whole monkey wrench in what you would normally or traditionally do as far as a homegoing service for your loved ones. I don't know if anybody has experienced that, but the stipulations that are placed because of COVID makes it kind of difficult to really send your loved one off like you really would want to. So we did our very best. I think we came together, and I say we because I include myself as if I was one of his children. If you are in my inner circle, in my inner sanctum, you know where I fit in the dichotomy of my family. So to the union of my grandfather and grandmother, there were 7 children. My mother is the oldest, and I am the oldest grandchild. So my mother had me at an early age. She was 19, but still living at home, which meant I was there as well with her. So I unofficially call myself the 8th child. Although I did not come from their loins, my grandparents, I grew up in the house with all the rest of their other 7 children. And my first cousins affectionately call me Auntie Cousin because I straddle the fence depending on what the situation is, on whether or not I want to be a sister or I want to be a cousin. So I've been given the name affectionately Auntie Cousin. So for the most part, I feel in my heart like I'm the unofficial 8th child. Anyway, I digress. So when I say we, as if I was included on the plans for his service, I was not, I was not in on that. There are still 5 surviving children to the union that produced 7. So I don't really get a say. However, I know how to finesse my ideas upon my mom or my aunts if I need to. Okay, so it was a really nice homegoing service. We were able to have what was originally supposed to be a viewing for Thursday evening and a graveside service for him at the Dallas-Fort Worth National Cemetery on Friday. That was only limited to 30 people. So it was immediate family only for that. But the service on Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, was open to the public. And my grandfather was not like this huge pillar in, you know, Dallas, but to those of us who knew him, to his church family, to our neighborhood in Oak Cliff, Mr. Jones was the man. Mr. Jones was the man that had 7 kids with his wife of 51 years, and none of his children have any kind of arrest records. All of his children are law-abiding citizens. We lived smack dab in the hood of Oak Cliff, but we were not of the hood, if that makes any kind of sense. And so I tell people all the time, you know, I love God, but I cuss a little, and that's because I'm from Oak Cliff. I can't help myself. But my grandparents and my mom instilled really, really, really deep moral values in me and the rest of us. You know, all of my cousins, all my first cousins, we all do well. We do well. We are law-abiding citizens. And I keep saying that because if you know Oak Cliff, you know it's not hard to get caught up in BS at all. But we have managed not to do so. So, and all of that stems from my grandfather and his leadership. And I really, really, really am going to miss him. I spent all last week listening to voicemails that he had left me. And I'm gonna miss him. I'm not sad because, like I said, he's lived a very full life. I would sit up and talk to him for hours when I would go home. I made it my business to go visit my grandparents. I have one surviving grandparent left, and that is my paternal grandmother, Rosemary Jarvis. And I didn't go visit her this time because I was around a lot of people because of my other grandfather's service. And so I didn't want to possibly, you know, with the whole COVID situation, I just didn't want to see her, not this time. But I made it my business and my priority to always visit with and sit with my elders, with my grandparents. And I'm just going to really miss that more than anything. I hate that I did not get a chance to wed before he left this earth, because that was one of his many questions. Nick, when you gonna get married? When you gonna get married? You gonna be too old in a little while to get married? And he said it jokingly and playfully, but he didn't know he was serious though, you know. So I hate that I didn't get to do that. But I think Daddy knew that his job here was done. It was well done. And the other thing that I really take solace in, although he's gone, is the fact that he battled dementia, and he battled that bitch. Do you understand me? Like, he would not let it completely take over his mind. I would sit and watch him and look at him and listen to him talk and just look at I could see the confusion going on in his head. Dementia is a really nasty, nasty disease. She's a really evil bitch. And she makes you think you're crazy. She plays tricks with your mind. And one day he could do really well and his memory would be on point. And then the next day or the next few hours, he would be in 1957. It's really scary. And he would be up, moving around, getting his keys, mind you, all on his walker, getting his keys or somebody's keys, saying he's getting ready to go to work. Because in his mind, that's the year he's in and he's back at work. Never mind, he's been retired over 30 years. In his mind, he's back at work. So I saw him never let the dementia completely overtake his mind. He was that strong-minded. His will was that strong where he just would not succumb to the disease. And that's just my granddad. That is who he is. That summarizes his spirit in a nutshell. He is just not going to quit. He's not going to give up. He just would not do it. And I mean, I think that makes me, I don't know, that brings me some kind of peace, weirdly. I don't know how to describe it. But that's just who he is. And to me, up until like the age of 9, I really believed in my mind that my grandfather was like not a mere mortal. Like in my mind, he was, I wouldn't say Superman, but he was not a regular human being man walking around. Like he was something else in my mind. He was something greater. He was something bigger. He was just strong and just physically strong and just very intimidating if you didn't know him. But once he opened up his mouth and started to speak, he was like a gentle giant. And I have such fond memories of him. I just, you know, that makes it easier for me to deal with what's going on. It doesn't make it easy, but it makes it easier. So that's why I haven't been on. I have been dealing with the passing of my wonderful grandfather, whom I love dearly. Like he was my favorite man in the whole world. He was literally my favorite, and I don't want to say person, but he was my favorite male, like male person in the entire universe. There's nobody else like my grandfather, to me, in my mind. Nobody else. All men are measured. Any man I come into contact with is measured on his scale. And I know in my mind that nobody is going to quite measure up to who he is to me. But the things that he's instilled in me, the things that I should particularly look for in a guy because of who I am and who I was raised to be, he's given me those things. There's not, I could count on one hand, how many men have actually met my grandfather. I don't take anybody, just anybody, in his presence. I don't bring people around my family in general anyway, because you have to be a special breed in order to deal with my folks. We are crazy. A good crazy, but crazy. But to meet my grandfather, you really had to be somebody I deemed super special. I mean, like super. Because if you meeting daddy, then that means I'm thinking you might be somebody like him. Anyway, so I'm saying all that to say, guys, that I say it all the time. Love on your people. Love on the people who love you. Love on the people who love you. In my family, we're not big on saying I love yous. We're more of a showing kind of family. The grands are more I love you kind of folks. Now, you know, my first cousins and stuff, you know, we'll say it. But the older generation, they weren't really, oh, I love you, y'all, I love you. They weren't like that. But their actions undoubtedly told me that I was loved and the rest of us were all loved. We came from a loving family of actions. And so, love on the people who love on you. I'll say it all day, and I mean it. I mean it, I mean it. I have no heavy heart about my grandfather leaving. It's just, I'm gonna miss him. I'm gonna miss him like crazy. I'm gonna listen to those voicemails, and I'm happy that he is hopefully reunited with my grandmother. And yeah, so that's what I've been doing this last week and a half. And Wednesday, I'll be back to normal with my normal scheduled programming. So whatever good entertainment news is going on, you know, sports are starting to come back. So I'll have my commentating sports analysis to bring to you. And yeah, I'll go from there. So Love you guys. Love you, Jones Fresh Crew. I'll talk to y'all later. Be good.